There once was a beautiful land far, far away, beyond mountains and valleys, blue skies, night skies, thunder, lightning, and shooting stars. It was a land of emerald green hills, deep and lush forests full of chattering birds, and meadows of wildflowers that bloomed all year. Tinkling streams flowed into raging rivers that poured over tall cliffs into roaring waterfalls that ended in cool, clear pools of crystal water. It was a peaceful, magical land, and in this land lived a fairy named Fenella. Fenella was a fairy like most fairies in most ways. So teeny tiny she could slip right through the eye of a darning needle. Fenella had lots and lots of golden hair that curled all the way down her back. Her eyes seemed to fill up a great deal of her face, and were the color of those clear pools that the waterfalls fell into, green and silver or blue, depending on the weather. Her skin had the sheen of pearls and glowed with the magic that flows through fairies' veins. Her laughter was music that moved flowers to release their perfume, and when she sang, even the nightingale paused to listen. She had the voice of 1,000 silver bells, stirred by a gentle summer breeze. Fenella was a fairy who would make any fairy mother proud. Except for one thing. There was one thing that set Fenella apart from all other fairies that ever lived, and it was a horribly bewildering and confusing thing. It went against everything anybody ever heard of fairies. It went against the very nature of being a fairy, and it was the cause of great concern to all who knew and loved her. Most of all, it was the cause of much pain and embarrassment to Fenella herself. The flowers no longer trembled to her laughter, and the nightingale sang by himself. For Fenella neither laughed nor sang these days. Fenella was afraid to fly. She had long since passed the age when fairies first take flight, but she had yet to so much as float from a blade of grass to the ground. It wasn't for lack of trying. Every morning at sunup, Fenella watched as her family and friends flew off. They swung their bright and colorful wings faster and faster till they were just a blur, soaring gracefully into the sky, dipping and diving and gliding, making it look as if it were the easiest thing in the world, which it was. At least, to them it was. To Fenella, it seemed like the most impossible thing in the universe. But every day, when Fenella was sure they were all gone, she stepped out into the clearing, determined that today would be the day she flew, the day that her wings exploded into color. Today would be the day her wings changed from the milky white of a fairy child too young to fly to the colorful wings of a fairy dancing on the wind. Today she would receive her new name to match her new wings. And she would try. Oh, how she tried. She flapped her wings. She flapped them faster and faster. Her wings fluttered through pale shades of blue and green and purple. They shook and they trembled. She stood on her tippy-tippy toes. Her arms reached for the sky and her legs lengthened, ready to take flight. She jumped a few times in case her wings would believe they were flying and truly carry her. Fenella closed her eyes and clenched her jaw, trying to imagine how fun it would be, how good it would feel to leave the solid ground beneath her and fly through the air. She tried to imagine the happy smiles of family and friends, the relief on their faces when they saw her take wing. But all Fenella could feel was the terror of nothingness surrounding her, the thin air and her feebly flapping wings that she would not trust to support her. All she could see was the disappointment on her mother's and father's faces when they came home to see her, pale and grounded as always. All she could think about were the whispers that followed her wherever she went, asking why she, Fenella, only child of midnight and summer, was still colorless and walking when she should be flying in brilliant color. The whispers said she was an embarrassment to her father Midnight, so named for his deep blue and silver wings, and to her mother, with her beauty, her grace, and the leafy green and gold wings that had made her famous throughout the land. And yet, with all their fame and beauty and grace, Their only child was a disaster.